You're busy. You've got a lot going on. And hey, yeah, maybe you don't want to deal with your team stuff. You're just trying to get through the week. But the longer we wait, the longer we don't take action on what we know needs to be dealt with, the worse it gets. And I've got to give you some tough love today because there are two completely different situations that I have supported folks through when they waited too long to deal with a challenging situation on their team and when they acted proactively. And the results, well, for one of those examples, that client lost about $250,000 from an employee that was mishandling their role. And the other had their most profitable quarter ever in a business that's making $4 million a year. So that means they brought in over $1 million in revenue in one quarter. Which do you want to be? Simple math, right? Losing 250 or maybe making $1 million or more in a quarter. It is literally your choice. Because when you sit on something and you know it's not good and you say, I don't want to invest in my team, I don't want to slow down, I don't want to figure this out, I don't want to deal with it at all, which I get it, it's natural. But when you take that stance, things just get worse. I wish it wasn't the case, but we're dealing with people here. People are hard, people are complicated, and people stuff, it just doesn't work itself out. When you see that there is a challenging situation, and you're like, I hope that with time, something gets a little bit better, or I hope when they get a little experience, even though they're really rubbing people the wrong way, or they're really not listening, or they're not showing respect, like that stuff, that doesn't get better. So let's talk about the first case, the team member gone wrong. So I have a client who runs a med spa, and they asked me to connect with their ops director to evaluate, hey, is this person really able to kind of move the needle, hold people accountable to hitting their numbers and metrics? And so I met with the ops director and I said, there's some big accountability issues that I'm seeing. And I shared an outline of where I saw the gaps to be and what we really needed to do to turn the team around. Things like setting clear metrics that folks really could own, having more accountability, tying bonuses to performance, things like that. And I made a really clear plan with the ops director and I communicated that to the CEO. And so the ops director, they were left, on their own and they did not implement this plan. We came back together a few months later and I said, hey, where are you at with the plan? And they had one excuse after the next. And so I told the CEO, I said, I'm really nervous about this hire. I think we can take a little bit more of a hands-on approach. I can come in, I can implement these different things. But this person's really not taking responsibility. I'm nervous about this hire. I think it's not a fit. They said, okay, I don't know. Let me wait on it. And they sat on this, even with a clear plan of what to do. For 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, they sat on it. And then they came to me crying when they finally fired this ops director and they found out she had sat on $200,000 of unpaid invoices that weren't accounted for, had bought another $50,000 of product that was the wrong product for the med spa and literally shoved it into different cupboards in the facility, hiding it. And there was no ability to return it. And so when this person left, she was in the hole, $250,000 that she had to pay out of her own pocket. And she brought me in to help clean up the mess. And quickly we were able to get folks dialed in, bring in some more new leadership on the client relations side, on the guest services. We were able to implement some simple processes to get folks feeling more accountable. I had one-on-ones with team members. We moved fast and we turned things around. But it didn't have to be after this $250,000 mistake. It didn't have to be then. And I know that because in the second example I want to talk about, a client brought me in. She had a high-performing team, just a few team members. She runs an events production company. And she said, hey, we want to have our best year ever. I know I need to figure some of this stuff out. I know my team, there's one really strong person and one person that's struggling a little bit, and I really want to make sure that person's held more accountable. I said, well, this is the best situation possible because you are investing before there's a problem. Now, in that, we set up some processes out of the gates. We implemented snippets. I talked about this on the show. Snippets is a really lightweight tracking tool, I should say. It's just a Google Doc where we can have clear visibility into top priorities for the week, wins, places folks are stuck. And that was actually one of the issues, that she wasn't sure folks were always working on the most highest priority things. So we implemented snippets, we did some coaching with the team members, and some real deep accountability conversations with the team member that was struggling. And we made some clear goals and action plans, and I coached her through that. Well, when we got to the end of the quarter, she came to me and said, oh my gosh, like this is, I knew this was helping, but I didn't realize to what extent. Because the team member who is a little bit spread thin, making up for the one that was struggling, she was able to focus on the right things. The team member that was struggling was actually stepping up now. And the two of them were able to produce, again, way, way more than anticipated, leading to their highest revenue quarter in a $4 million a year business. This is what you can have when you're proactive. And I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm not saying that you need to hire me to do that, but you've got to deal with the stuff. And when you don't deal with it, you're on the other side of that because these challenges get worse. And if you have a team member that's struggling and they can tell that you're a little bit resentful or you're like a little bit frustrated with them, a lot of times they kind of start, I would say you can have a number of different scenarios, but where maybe they get better because I don't want that. But sometimes, and what happened in this case with this ops director, she actually started sabotaging her role in different ways. And she just like didn't care anymore. And she was just there to collect a paycheck. Ordered the wrong supplies. Well, I don't want to deal with this. Shove them into a cupboard. Invoice came. I'm late. I don't know. So just like didn't pay those. And they were just like sitting unaccounted for. Team members, she'd have a meeting with them, wouldn't follow through. They felt like, well, who's the leadership here? All of these things happened because this team member wasn't getting the feedback. And after we had a clear plan, the follow-up, that's the most important thing. Right. So it's not about saying someone, okay, what do I need to fix? And just knowing it. It's actually doing it. It's actually implementing it. That's the important thing. And in the second example, saying, okay, I know that there's some stuff on my team. I'm not really looking under the hood. There's someone that's struggling. I know I need to get a little bit sort of more balance across the workload. Let me bring in an expert to help figure this out. Then we were able to go boom, 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 surgical approach, remove the issues. And to be literally like a rocket ship around the production that the team had. And everybody's happier. And so I think, again, why I wanted to share these two examples is you don't have to sit on a problem. You don't have to be the one that's losing more and more and more time and money and your own freaking stress and overwhelm through the roof because you don't want to deal with it. I get it. It sucks to have to go, is there stuff that I could do differently? Where do I need to step in? You're running this business. Yeah, like you do have to do it. But you bring in someone like me, we make it so much easier because you have someone that understands your vision, understands where you're going and says, okay, let's figure this stuff out. What are the things that we need to fix right away, the low-hanging fruit? What are some more structural things that we can implement? And just how do we make communication flow and things easier from top to bottom? That's what we do. It's not about me telling you a bunch of stuff you're doing wrong. No, because that doesn't help. And it's certainly not about telling the team all the things they're doing wrong either. No, it's neither of those. And so if you're thinking, well, I don't want to invest in support because I don't even know if I have the right people here. Well, if they're on your team longer than you are already investing in that, so you might as well figure out if they're the right people. Or I've heard people say, well, I don't want to invest in my ops manager or my marketing manager because I'm not sure if they're good. Like, why would I spend money on it? It's like, you don't know if they're good? Then you shouldn't have them on your team. Then you should hold them to a higher standard, or you should set clear expectations and you should have a conversation with that person to figure out like what's working, what's not working. When we have team members and we think, I don't know if they're good or not, like that's when you got to figure out if they are good or not. Because a lot of those things, they can be resolved. I like to give folks the benefit of the doubt and think every team member wants to be good. They want to be operating their best. They want to be doing a good job. And so if you're thinking they're not good, there's a good chance they might be thinking, am I doing okay? And they just need some feedback. They need some clarity. Maybe they need a little bit of coaching. And when I've gone in situations like that, the team feels such a relief. They're so re-energized by the fact that you're investing energy and resources into them that they start stepping up so much more than you even thought they would. It's really remarkable. And when you're investing in high performers, they don't just give a little bit more. They start giving 10x and they start crushing it and they start blowing you away and they start bringing in new ideas. And that's what we want to be fueling on our teams. And so you can get support when you've already, realized, oh my God, I have literally lost, I'm hemorrhaging money and this is a nightmare and I want to close my business. I want to fire everyone. Yeah, okay. But what if you were like, hey, things are going well and we really have big goals and I really want to be able to step away from the business and work fewer days or go on vacation with my family or not be the bottleneck or be able to trust my team, but the people I'm paying to do those jobs actually not have to also do those jobs. What if you were over there and you got that freedom? Again, this is what we can create together. This is what you get. And this is what you get when you invest in support. Again, whether it's me, whether it's someone else, whether it's going through a program, a mastermind, there's a lot of ways to figure this stuff out. And I really strongly encourage you to figure out the one that's right for you, but to do something. So when you recognize either I've got some issues and I think I might be, something's a little bit off here, or you're thinking, gosh, I want to get to the next level, but I know that there's some things I don't know what I don't know. These are both moments to invest, but why not start earlier? Why not start before there's a problem? Because you could be one conversation, one coaching engagement, one workshop series, one fractional support away from having your highest profit quarter. Who wouldn't do that, right? So get the support. It is not too late, and it's also not too early. And if you're liking the show, follow, subscribe on Apple, on Spotify, on your favorite platform. Subscribing helps it reach more folks so that more people can find ease in leading their teams. And that's the mission. Let's make leading our teams a little bit easier. See you next time.